For most people, eating an apple is not something they think about. Biting, chewing, and swallowing just seem to happen. A stroke can alter your ability to eat. The damage to your brain may affect the muscles that allow you to swallow.
Eating an apple, you never really thought about it, but after a stroke, the face and the neck can also become involved, and that then affects your ability to chew the food, to make it to a nice consistency so that you can get to the point of swallowing it, and then the swallowing aspect of it so that the food goes down the right way and not towards the lungs.
Some people can't eat anything, in which case we have to feed them through a tube into their stomach while we wait for the healing to go on and that swallowing to really take over again, and for the brain to start working and relearning some of those swallowing activities.
Swallowing problems can have serious consequences, such as pneumonia, dehydration, malnutrition, and social isolation.
If we were to feed people inappropriate foods, or if food is brought from home, from loving, caring caregivers wanting to do the best things, they can choke very, very easily. And luckily it's never happened here, but other institutions, there have people that have actually died, not from the stroke, but from choking to death after they've had their stroke. And so that's something we take very seriously, and typically within the first hour or two that somebody is here, one of our dietitians and or speech-language pathologists will be visiting with that patient and doing a complete analysis, getting the information from the previous experience at the acute care hospital, examinations of the swallowing reflex, and trying to determine the safest diet that is as high as possible in terms of nutrition and satisfaction in terms of taste, and yet on the other hand it has to be safe as well.
So I like to discuss my findings with the patient. What's wrong? Why is this wrong? What can we do about it? And if their family members are able to be involved, I like to discuss with them what the recommendations are and discuss the texture and what's acceptable on that diet texture. So if it's pureed, how thin can the puree be? If it's minced, how fine does something need to be chopped up? And try to work with the family so that they're able to bring in foods, the patient's preferred foods, also within dietary recommendations.
Problems can be managed by modifying food texture. Food that is soft, chopped, minced, pureed, and modified liquid thickness can make food much easier to consume.
There's a variety of diet that a patient can be on after a stroke, and one of those diets is thickening, and that means that the consistency of the liquid would be thicker so that it helps facilitate the swallowing.
Maybe right away after the stroke, a person might receive a diet that's kind of pureed. So it's all blended up in a blender, and the liquids might be thickened to kind of a honey-like consistency so that people have a safe time to swallow. But as they improve, their diet textures will improve as well. So the next step up would be a minced texture. So for example, a shepherd's pie would be considered a minced texture, but that means all of their foods would be minced, so even their vegetables. And if you're going to have a steak, it would be minced up a little bit like ground beef.
Do they need to do maybe a strategy to make the swallow easier? Maybe tuck their chin down or turn their head? Left corner. Do we need to change the amount of food that's coming in, how quickly the person is feeding themselves or being fed? And then from there we develop some recommendations and a treatment plan. First of all, we often give patients a set of oral motor exercises, which means they're exercises for your face, so your lips, your cheeks, your tongue, and your jaw. The goal is to strengthen